Produced by Podcast Architects.
Welcome back to another episode of the Path Forward special TASA Midwinter Edition here in Austin, Texas. And I'm joined by special guest, Dr. Andy Reddock from Sinton ISD. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Well, I'm excited to dive in. And as you know, unfortunately for you, I have family in Sinton.
Yes.
So I have some intimate, I'm not going to mention any names. It may start with a CH and end in Esther.
It might. It might.
But obviously a great community, a great town. This has been your first full semester there. Give me some of your insights, some of your thoughts, what you've enjoyed the most.
Sure. Well, like you mentioned, I came in just after spring break last year, so it was a weird time coming in and, getting acclimated in the community at the end of a season is always hard. But, coming in this first semester, what I saw or the impression I got coming in has just resonated even more, is that we got some awesome people in the community of Sinton. Good people that love their kids, love their school, a lot of school pride. And I'm proud that they chose me to lead them.
Now, when you were interviewing, did they tell you about the baseball requirement, like that you have to go to every single game and be on the bench and cheerlead and all that stuff?
It honestly did come up in the interview. And interestingly enough, my first interview was this week 1 year ago.
Really?
I had to leave the conference and go for the first
Okay. Well, it was good. It was worthwhile then, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, but it did come up, and when they were looking at my resume, the part that come up with baseball was where I went to high school, and they're like, I came up, tell us about yourself, and I went to high school in Russ, Texas, and it just so happened Russ knocked him out of the playoffs the year before, so I was like, I don't know if that's a black mark against me or not, but
you should have said I did it virtually. I was a virtual student.
No kidding, but no, the baseball team is really, that's one thing I've also enjoyed is, they take a lot of pride in extracurriculars, even beyond the athletics, academics, fine arts, regardless of what they do. They want the best for kids. They want them to be competitive. They want to, take something from that beyond what they're learning on the stage, the court, or the field.
Absolutely.
And our coaches and our teachers have really embraced that mindset of doing what's best for kids. And teach them to be better people beyond those events. And, like I said, when you talk about the people of Sinton, and again, that resonating with me, all communities are different.
Right.
And I've been fortunate enough in my time, I've gone to some different places, seen some different things. I've met a lot of people, and all of them love their school to a degree. But I will say, of all the places I've been, Sinton's pride in their school and what it means to them as a community, it is pretty deep, and it is pretty special. And as I've met more people in the community,
right,
through the course of the year, and talking to them about the history of the school and where it's been, what it's grown, who the people are that have made impacts over time. There's a lot of those folks, and a lot of them still have roots or still have ties.
Sure.
And so that's pretty special in itself.
Now, you mentioned a little bit about your career path. So from your experience, what are some of the things you feel like you bring to the district in terms of leadership and your vision for the district?
Sure. Well, my path was, I won't say non-traditional, but started a little bit differently. I actually started in public schools as a maintenance worker when I was 18.
Really?
So I graduated and I started working in the maintenance department in Rusk, actually, where I graduated.
Okay.
And worked there for 5 years while I was in college. And then when I went to student teaching, of course, I had to give that up, and it was a good time, and went into the teaching field. And that is one aspect that at the time it didn't resonate with me as much as it does now. But I learned so much about schools, interworking, people that I took forward into the public school setting. And some of that is what I draw on more as a superintendent than honestly what I did in classroom or on campuses.
Right.
It's that behind the scenes. And like I've told people, all the time, I try ever since I've been in a leadership role where I've been able to give back to some of those departments, my custodial departments, maintenance departments. I do a barbecue for them every summer, and just for them. And it's important to me. And I tell people, I got a lot of people wanting to help. And I said, look, this is it's a personal thing for me that I like to do and I want to do. But, bringing that into the leadership role, it's a level of humility. I think that's important to leadership. And like I tell them when I have those meetings or when I visit with folks that are new into those roles, that, I've seen what it's like to be put on a pedestal and treated really well as maintenance worker.
Yeah.
I've experienced
The other side.
the other side of it, where you're invisible almost.
Right.
And so I've kept that in mind. And again, dealing with people, which is huge in the role that I'm in now, I draw on that a lot. I was an elementary teacher, elementary
Really?
principal. So when my background comes up, I'm an elementary guy. I taught 5th grade science and social studies, and then I was an elementary principal for 7 years. So elementary guy. A lot of people come in, what did you coach? I didn't coach. You talk about the athletics.
Tie shoes.
Yeah,
That's what you
yeah.
coach, right?
The athletics aspect of things. I've been fortunate enough to the districts I've been in have done well athletically.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been able to learn, and I have a lot of respect for the coaching staff across the state, everywhere. A lot of times they get a stereotype over time of what they do, and people have no idea what coaching staff does behind the scenes, and the amount of time, energy, and effort that they put into the kiddos, and they genuinely want the best for them. So again, a lot of respect for them. But like I said, I've tried to be a student of leadership, and a lot of those opportunities that I had working with those leaders from that athletic realm, I also draw on. And like I tell people all the time, I wasn't a coach, but I use a lot of athletic analogies, when it comes into leadership and working with teams and working with what you got. And
Absolutely. Coaching and feedback in the classroom.
A lot of crossovers.
Oh, man. And, it's funny because I'm a former coach, and coaches have no excuse not to be fantastic teachers, because I see them out there on a daily basis coaching technique and skills and plays that are more complex and take more training and planning to get it right than a lot of the stuff that goes on in the classroom. So, when you hear that, oh, well, they're coaches, they're not good teachers, or if you get, occasionally get somebody that's kind of, all right, I'm on the field more and I'm not really focused on the classroom. Like, hold on now, you're the best teacher that we have, and I see it every Friday night or every, so that's interesting. Now, on your maintenance department side, do you have a more critical eye, like when you walk a school or whatever with is your maintenance director like, oh, man, this guy's gonna see everything?
It comes up every once in a while. It looks a little, and my perspective is a little bit different over time, and I can go through and as I tell them, I know some things that could probably help that I've experienced, but I also know the shortcuts you're going to want to take, how it works behind the scenes sometimes, and so sometimes they get a little frustrated, but generally they're appreciative of that background knowledge, and like I said, it's like anything else. I don't know it all about anything, and I never will, but I learn from them just as much as I hope that they learn from me and pick up bits and pieces. And but like I said, I think it's generally appreciated in most of the places that I've.
No, absolutely. So you guys are growing and building. Obviously, you got Steel Dynamics out there. They're bringing in a lot of families. As you grow, 1 year down the road, 2 years down the road, where do you see Sinton going in terms of the vision of the academics, the school experience for the families that you have and the families that will soon be there?
Well, again, when coming into Sinton, it's kind of in that at the starting line, getting ready to go. There's a lot of good history and a lot of good things that were already going, that are in place, that are already rolling. But with the addition to Steel Dynamics and the passing of our bond, we're building a brand new, ground up, 100% state-of-the-art high school.
Nice.
It's going to be amazing for our community. We're finishing up. That's mid-process right now, and we're finishing up we call the multi-purpose building, which is an indoor practice facility, weight room.
Oh, nice.
Locker rooms, the whole 9 yards. And we're looking forward to getting kids in there in the spring.
Absolutely.
Additionally, the district's done a very good job with their elementary and middle school campuses, keeping up facilities. So I think that is important. Something that Sinton has done well is they've kept in mind that you've got to focus on good teaching and good people. Like I said, that's what has resonated with me. But you also want quality learning environments for your kiddos.
Right.
So they brought that in full circle. Something that the district has struggled with over time, and that's starting to see some movement, is housing. Although we're building things there's a lot happening in the coastal Bend area, and housing was limited in Sinton ISD proper. But we do have a housing development that's going in right now, and as I tell them, I'm seeing more piping and more stuff below ground now than was above ground, a few weeks ago.
Right.
So we're looking forward to getting those additional homes in. When something comes on the market, it's picked up pretty quick. And once we get just a little bit of expansion in the housing market in Sinton, I think we're going to start seeing more student growth, those things roll in. They've been very steady for a long time, dips like everybody through COVID, but as we come back into the year and like we talk about, this is real school. We're rolling. It's at its normal state. But like I said, as those houses open up, it'll be a win for the community.
When we're talking about growth and really just at all teacher retention and finding your next wave, your great talent, what's your message to teachers that are there that you want to stay, but also teachers that you're looking to recruit or bring in? Like, what's the Sinton difference, like the Sinton twinkle, so to speak?
Sinton Way, as we
there you go. It's not the Power Way.
The
Sinton Way. Okay,
Sinton Way. And again, I keep coming back to it. It is people. What I hope that resonates with the current staff and to build upon to even greater heights is that I'll use this a lot when I'm talking to groups. More than a school, we're a family. There's situations within a school system where you're going to deal with teams. The teams and family are two very different aspects, but we want to make sure that you feel appreciated, valued, listened to. We've been working over this past, for me, 10 months, but making sure that we're putting systems into place where we are recognizing students, recognizing staff, showing the gratitude and appreciation that they deserve in what they do. We like everybody else, we're looking at salaries, wages, those kind of things to try to get them in. Like a lot of people, we just can't unleash the whole wallet, so we have to live within our means. But I've also seen over time, and I've seen this at Sinton itself, is yes, people want to make a good wage, obviously, but they also, the environment in which they're making that wage matters a lot.
The culture.
So exactly, we want, but like I said, if our teachers do feel valued, they do feel appreciated. We have great kids. I mean, again, all schools probably say that about their kids, but that's another thing that has been impressive to me from our school setting is, we have a lot of good kids that want to be involved, that want to be a part of something. Right. They've grown up with a culture of competitive spirit, which is nice to see, and that's what is something that does draw some people to our community.
Absolutely, you leverage every avenue that you can.
Yes.
When you're recruiting teachers and when you're inviting families to come join the team. Switching gears a little bit, so we're here at TALAS Midwinter. There's a variety of sessions. When you attend events, learning events like this, what are the sessions that draw your interest? Is there anything that you kind of I know I'm going to look for these because this is what I'm very interested in?
My interest most of the time is going to be anything revolving about leadership and growing leaders.
Okay.
It's something I enjoy immensely on a personal level. My leadership team in Sinton and in prior districts, I enjoy working with them. I enjoy identifying somebody who may not have, internalized their own leadership potential and tapping that and being able to let them grow and have some realization, hey, you do have a skill set that can benefit our kids, and taking that to another level.
Right.
So anything related to that, the session I just came out of with Klein ISD was a leadership panel. It was a fantastic. I couldn't stay for the end of it to come down here, but for the time that I was in there, it was great discussion around what it means to be quality leaders, what that looks like,
sure,
and how to grow them. And I also look for a lot of things with communication, because as I talk with my leader, especially new to leadership roles, is quality communication is critical, because like I said, you could be saying whatever you think people are picking up, but they got to be picking up what you're putting down. Anything that helps me build my skill set with communication, and that I can take and deliver and share with others back at home or wherever. So I would say those two are usually my heavy.
Those are go-to. Now, if you were challenged to go teach a fifth grade class, how would you do right now? Like if your teachers came to you and said, hey, you've been saying we need to do this, and this. Show us how to do it. How would you fare?
Honestly, it'd be one of those. I'd be fired up. Let's go do it right now.
You get in there and get excited.
As I go in there and in teaching and as it has evolved over the years, it's become more and more complex, and a lot of times it's real busy, and that's something, a message I've been trying to share as I go in, new to the district, is it's not always about doing more. It's about doing things that give high yield and high quality.
Right.
It's not, again, quality over quantity. And that's the thing that I would hope to be able to share with teachers and model for them is, let's get some depth to the learning instead of, running the rat race and just trying to cover everything as fast as we can, because those kids are going to need something to carry with them, not for the short moment, but for the long haul.
Right.
I would hope that, walking into a classroom, whatever activity that we have for the day on any given day, will be engaging to the kids.
Sure. They'd want to be there. They'd want to do it. They feel like it.
They look forward to it.
Absolutely.
It's exciting for them. They feel when they walk out of that room that they've accomplished something, but they also have something that they can't wait to share, whether it be with their friends, mom and dad, or whatever. That's one thing that I loved about elementary school, especially the younger grade levels, is, you could go in, if you had the right attitude about things, you could get little kids excited about anything.
Oh, yeah.
It was all about you and your attitude about learning that day that transcended to the kids.
I've been tricked many times as a student into being excited about something that I really had no interest in whatsoever. Right. But
and we talk about it, frame that up in elementary school, but really I think that's the case all the way through high school, secondary, is if teachers are excited, they know what they're doing, they understand the curriculum, they get where they need to be going with the lesson, and they go in with a positive attitude, and they're excited about teaching, the kids are going to be excited about learning. I've seen it too many times, and it's a critical piece.
How do you translate that to the staff? And meaning, like, for professional development, I was always skeptical of professional development, because I felt like we'd always, and when I say we, I mean educators, we'd do it right before school started, maybe sometime in the Christmas break, and then a little bit during the summer. But there really wasn't a cohesive sequence all the way through that we were going to essentially do what we did for teachers, what we were asking them to do for students, right? Like, have it spiraled and ongoing, and I think we got to get teachers excited about their craft as well. And we're in a challenging time to do that. A lot of things that are out of our control that we're trying to combat. But, how does that relate in what you want to do for your staff?
That's that one thing that we actually, again, coming in new, you learn about the district, but you start putting together the things. Here's the things that we can work on. And we're kind of at that point in my time in Sinton. And that's actually one of the things that's come up, is creating a professional development framework for the teachers, twofold. From the district, if you're going to teach in Sinton, here's the expectations and the level of training that we expect you to participate in. And we look at it as giving to you for knowledge that you can carry elsewhere, but we're going to invest that time into you to get you to a level that we feel is appropriate for our district. But also it's reciprocal, and in developing that framework, it's really listening to teachers as to what they need. A lot of times we were in a meeting just the other day, and it's some challenges with some staffing and some things. And trying to get a teacher in a spot, and we're facing that just like a lot of places are. We've been pretty fortunate. With this one spot, I had a math teacher that was talking to me, and it was a good conversation, but asked, "What do you want us to do?" And I'm like, "You're the expert in math. What do you need help to get done?" That's what I'm here for. Because I'm not a high school math teacher. I couldn't even hold a candle to what you do in the classroom.
Absolutely.
My job is to give you the resources and do what we can within our means to give you what you need. And flipping that script to them, I think shows respect to them as professionals, because a lot of times people slip into just telling what to do. And it's a quick fix and just do this, one-sided. But flipping that script and really listening to your teachers and really listening to the professional faculty and staff that are truly the experts in their areas. And, especially if they're open to learning.
Sure.
Because there's always going to be new ways, different ways. Some things are tried and true, and you just keep on trucking. But, in the development of that professional development framework, is two-sided, developing a level of need and a standard.
Yeah.
I think that's everybody's role, but also rolling into things that our professionals in the classrooms and the instructional roles feel that is necessary to move our kids forward.
That makes perfect sense, and with how you just framed that, and just the development of it, and how it's an ongoing process. It really has to be, and it has to be a partnership. They are the experts, right? We're helping them remove barriers, fulfill their roles as teachers, and ultimately hoping that we can help facilitate student thinking,
Yes, sir.
problem solving, right?
Yes, sir.
I want to get your thoughts on a couple other components. So when you got your first job as a superintendent, rookie superintendent, and you were going to address the staff or the district for the first time, what did you do to prepare, and like what was going through your mind? Because I was nervous as heck. But
Oh, yeah.
Take me through that experience.
Well, my first superintendent, I came mid-year, so it was coming in January, coming off spring break. I started I think it's the 4th of January, something to that effect. We did the typical, everybody was gone, so during the transition, half the 21-day waiting period, it was on break, so didn't get to meet a whole lot of people out of the gate. And we called everybody to the auditorium. I guess small district, so the whole district, about 100 employees or so, 150 total, everybody. And called them in, and the best I remember, and this is what I try to be with everyone, is really establish from the get-go that what you see is what you get. I'm going to be authentic about things. I'm not. I am what I am.
Yeah.
And I've learned a long time ago is people can see through pretty quick when you try to be something that you're not. So I hope that I was received that way, and the other districts the same way, as I'm authentic in what I do, and as a person, as a leader, all of that.
Right.
But reminding them, and the message that I try to walk out of there is always that I'm here to support you. We will make mistakes. I will make mistakes. You will make mistakes. We'll learn from those. But as we move forward, we're going to fail forward. And we're going to always put kids first.
Right.
And sometimes, as things go, there's a lot of learning involved, especially when you come into a new gig. Learning the dynamics of the district, the teachers, this community, all of that. But as you go forward, the universal truth is to keep kids first.
Yeah.
And as we start making decisions and things start developing, which in time is, if it needs to happen, regardless of the status of the district, there's always a need to evolve. And move to a next level, but it's always keeping kids first. First always is how I wrap that up.
No, absolutely. Well, yeah, that was much better than I was like, all right, what's the message? Does this need to be like? Do I need to pump them up, or does it need to be calm, cool, and collective? But I came during COVID, and it was a couple of months after school had started, so I didn't have that initial opportunity. To do that. So it was more kind of hit and miss with trying to pull your groups together.
Right.
One thing that I believe we're not addressing with just in education in general, and I want your thoughts on this. Some of the problem, like change is difficult no matter what you're doing, where you are, organization. But I also think the acceleration of change, the time period that we're living in now, like change happens rapidly. It is no longer like, all right, well, we see this, 5-10 years down the road. Like literally things are changing overnight, month by month. And, we've got these massive systems of educators. How do we go about being more comfortable with how quickly change is occurring? And that may mean like one semester to the next, something has totally, something has totally shown us that we need to tweak or switch or go in a new direction. But what are your thoughts on just how fast things are changing right now in the educational landscape?
Sure. Well, and I don't think it's just in education. I think the whole world is, we were put in a situation where everybody was forced to turn on a dime, and education definitely did, but a lot of industry did as well.
Right.
So people in general are still trying to find, as we found our way into COVID, people are trying to find their way out of COVID. And it's been interesting in a very short time, that disruption, triggered so many changes that are just taking hold.
How do you pick what to keep and what to release back?
Right. Well, and I think it comes back is communication when you're dealing with change, especially the rapid change. From a leadership standpoint, I think you've got to be very present. You got to have some background knowledge and understanding on what's going on in classrooms, what's going on in school, what's the dynamics that are affecting kids. Conversations with kids, I think that's something that people miss so very often, is having a discussion with your students to let them have voice.
Because they'll tell you
how what you're doing. It's some of the best conversations I've ever had as a superintendent is dealing with my student groups, and the insight that they bring. It's like, we're doing all this for them, but sometimes we just fail to listen to them, and they'll tell us exactly the path we need to go on. We may have to dress it up. There's maybe, things that rules and different things that we've got, dynamics that we've got to work with, but typically they're going to give us a pretty good path forward.
They'll tell you. It's always been my biggest beef with CTE is we believe that these are great industry careers because of the salaries, the ability for kids to get jobs. But we don't think about how are we going to sell this to our students, because they could probably care less about HVAC technician.
Sure.
And that has to be part of the process. Is like, all right, yes, there's a great need. It's a great living, great opportunity. But how do I get that into the mind of a 16-year-old, 17-year-old as an option? Because that's not like just magic. That just doesn't happen. That's always been like, hey, we've got to think about who we're selling it to.
Sure.
Right? Because whatever you can get kids to do, you can get the parents to do.
Well, and like I said, when that change is happening, that communication piece, regardless of who the other side of that communication piece is with, circling back routinely. You can't just, okay, this is where we're going and we're going forward, and that's just it. You got to come back and you got to reevaluate repeatedly, and you got to be nimble, and you got to be willing to, okay, if this is not working, I'm going to get off the dead horse, and we're going to take another path if that's what we need to do. But the balance I think that comes as you're navigating through change is not giving up or just jumping ship before things have a time to take hold, to really evaluate whether.
That's a good point.
That's
a great point.
Some things you got to stick with to see the fruits of the labor. But then also, people are want instant gratification a lot of times. And so it's balancing, seeing something through to truly evaluate the results, and being nimble to know the precise moment when it's working or not, and being willing to switch path or tweak to whatever degree necessary to go to get the better result that you're wanting to.
That's a great point. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, Ned. I know you got a bunch of sessions to attend, but Dr. Andy Reddock, Sinton ISD, I really appreciate your time joining me on the path forward. And if you see me at a game, I'm going to come sit in the box with you, so I can get my brother-in-law, I can get away from him, so
there you go.
Not irritating me. But thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to some great things happening in Sinton ISD.
All right, go Pirates.
There you go.
Appreciate you.
Produced by Podcast Architects.